All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for attending today's Shepherd Staff webinar over the contributions and attendance year end. I will be your instructor for this session. My name is Sam Williams, and I've been a software support technician for Concordia Technology Solutions for about 3 years now. Just as a note, all phones and microphones have been muted, so if you have any questions, type those into the questions window, and we will answer all questions at the end of the class. With me here today is our manager, Rod Kiles, and he'll be answering any questions just kind of in the background as time goes on. And then we'll cover, as I said, any leftover questions at the end. So just as kind of a note, these webinars are for both new and long-term customers who need a refresher on how to do the year-end tasks in each of the Shepherd Staff modules, and this kind of assumes everyone has a light understanding of Shepherd Staff. There will be no new material compared to last year's year-end webinars. These sessions do not cover the entirety of the Shepherd Staff software, only tasks commonly done at the end of the year. So here is going to be our class agenda. So we're going to have an overview, a discussion, then a review, and then a quiz at the end. And then a little Q&A session. And so as the year-end overview, we're going to do the year-end overview, optimize and rebuild databases, go over backing up your database. And so here's the overview. So we're going to be covering contributions, batches, pledges, envelopes, reports, the cleanup utility, which is optional. Then underneath attendance, we're going to be covering batches, reports, and the cleanup utility there. And so let's get started. So with this webinar, we'll be using the newest available version of Shepherd Staff, which is version 9.1, and that was just released earlier in October. Users can update their software by using the update utility if they are registered and supported. So if you click this check for updates option right here, granted, there's no new updates, so I'll get the congratulations, you're on the latest version of Shepherd Staff. But for you guys, you may want to do that check for updates. Users do not have to wait till after the year end to update. And so let me just kind of go over some of the utilities real quickly. Oh, sorry, actually, let me do this. The year-end utilities have been removed from all modules except finance. Since this change, just about all reports have dates, so users can run reports for previous years easily. Though each module does have cleanup utilities, none are required to move on to the next year. If users do want to purge data using these utilities, it will be a permanent process that can only be undone by restoring a backup. The recommended order for year-end task is contributions, then attendance, then membership, then scheduler, and finally finance. And I'm just going to turn my camera off real quickly as well. But just to start off with, we're going to go over how to optimize your database. And this is just a maintenance utility, should be run on the main computer. This only needs to be done by one person. And just as a process, it should not be interrupted. So if you have anyone else logged in at the time, I just saw that message from Karen. Can you hear me better now, Karen? Okay, so if you all can still hear me, I'm just going to go over how to optimize the database. To do that, you can do that from the login screen right here, and you will go up to utilities in the upper right. And then you will just click optimize this database. You'll get this little prompt. You'll just want to then say yes, and it may just take a moment, and then you'll get the message that says finished. The optimization completed successfully. Then for backing up, we recommend to back up your database before and after year-end tasks for redundancy. The backup utility will only back up the current database. If you have multiple databases, users must back up each database separately. We suggest using separate flash drives if that's the case. And to make a backup, you can also do that from the main login screen. So you go to Utilities, you can then do backup this database right here. And with just the backup option, you have three options you can choose from. You can say a location. I'll choose after clicking Start Backup, the last location used, or a previous location. Just for the sake of this, I'm going to do last location used and just say Start Backup. And there we go, the backup is successful. So let me get logged in real quickly, and we will go over the year-end task for the contributions module first, then we'll get to attendance. Okay, so to start off with, we are going to go to the contributions module, which is just the C icon right here. So with the year-end tasks, what you're going to want to do is you will want to post all unposted offering badges prior to running any of your year-end reports. Just because these are kind of workspaces, and if they are not posted, um, your reports won't be correct. So I'll just edit this batch real quickly just to show you, hey, I've got one offering for Scott and Ashley Huffman. And so I'll just click X to close out of here. And now I will just say post. And then when you're posting, as you know, you can print out a batch report, or we're just then going to do post. And we'll say yes. So now that our batch has been posted, just what we're going to then cover is entering pledges for the upcoming year, which you can then do by going to the pledges option right here. With entering pledges, you may need to recalculate the pledges after you enter them. Let me then pull up my PowerPoint because we'll just go over some of the rules for entering pledges. So here are the pledge rules. Pledge rule number 1, pledges can be entered at any time regardless of date. Pledge rule 2, always create new pledges for the next year. If the pledge details will be the same as last year's, you can use copy to create a new one for this year. Pledge rule 3, 2 pledges cannot be entered for the same contributor for the same fund within the same date range. Pledge rule 4, offering records entered after the pledge is created will be credited towards the active pledge. And then offerings entered before a pledge is created won't be applied to the pledge until you use the attach offerings to pledges utility under tools/settings. So let me go back to Shepherd staff, and we will now just enter in a pledge for this year, just to kind of show you guys this. So for this, we are going to use Scott and Ashley Huffman. And the fund we are going to use is just R1005, which is Vacation Bible School. And for the begin dates and end dates, we are actually just going to set it for the current year. And the amount will be $80, and we're going to set the frequency to each quarter. So that's every 4 months in this case. And so I will just press save here real quickly. Now that's saved. If we look right here though, we'll see the total pledge is currently $240, but the total given is actually at 0. That's because we have entered in the pledge right now. So what we then do is we go to tools/settings, which is right here. I'm hovering my mouse around it. We'll then go to the section here called Pledge Tools. And then we will say attach offerings to pledges. And we will then just press start. And this utility attaches any unpledged offerings falling within the pledge date range, provided the offerings have the same fund and contributor. This does not move or reattach offerings that were given to the wrong pledge, and does not remove pre or post pledge offerings. You will then just need to enter the year of the pledges you're wanting to attach, and then press continue. And we'll just do that real quickly. And we'll see one offering has been assigned to the pledge. We'll then go back to giving. And if we go to pledges, we'll see that the total given so far is $80. And just this total pledge, this is just calculating based on the frequency we listed. So since we listed every 4 months, that's why it's at $240. And as I said, we can now see that total given right there. So just as a note, pledges entered after the offerings have been entered must be recalculated to attach those offerings to the pledge. So just to kind of go over some notes real quickly, if you're wanting to add multiple pledges, what you can do is you can check this add multiple option right here. I'm kind of hovering around it. And what this will allow you to do is when you're entering your pledges for each individual, I'll actually just do a random person this time. And I'll just do the general fund, the beginning date for this one, and I'll just do 100. And now if I press save, what it will do is it will allow me to stay on this add pledges screen, along with then choosing to either change who the pledge record is for, or in the case of the individual just giving to a different fund, we can just click on a new fund here, leave the dates the same, and then let's just say we're going to change this to monthly and set it to $50. And then we can just press save again, and then if we press finish, this will now add both of those new pledges I just entered into the pledge records. So there is a option too with the pledges where you can do a mass add. With this utility though, it only works if, so I'll just do the general fund. The one thing with this is this only works if it's for a single fund, frequency, date range, and amounts. They all have to equal the same. So you may not necessarily use this. And then we can just click cancel here. And as part of the pledges, if you want to see prior pledges, what you can do is you can uncheck this hide inactive button. And this will then allow you to see any of the prior pledges entered into the system. So I will just recheck hide inactive. So next what we're going to be covering is we are going to be going over the renumbering envelopes. And to do that, you'll go over here to Tools/Settings again. And then underneath Envelope Tools, you will do Renumber Next Year Envelopes. And just as some kind of concepts and navigation, contributors are people with a person record and a envelope number. There are no, so I'm actually going to go back to giving real quickly for this. So there are no membership restrictions to be a contributor, just as long as they have a person record in the system and then are added in as a contributor over in contributions. A person cannot give offerings and have them be attributed to them without an envelope number, even if they don't use a physical envelope. We will kind of cover that in just a moment. And then a contribution statement can be generated for any contributor at any time. So then right here we have the envelope number, and then this is the current envelope, and this will be what is used on the statements when you print them out. Then over here we have the upcoming number, which is then what their number is for next year. I'm actually going to edit a record just to kind of show you this. So there's this option here that says custom name for statements. This allows you to just enter in like a nickname for an individual, as an example, if they don't want their legal name to be on the statements. With the renumbering, there are 3 different types of renumbering. You can kind of keep the current numbers, renumber alphabetically, or do a custom numbering system. As part of the renumbering process, what we recommend doing is going up here to tools, because this is also another way you can make a backup in the system. And let me actually close out contributions real quickly for this. But just before renumbering, you will want to go to backup and restore, database, and then just make another backup. So then let me go to contributions, and we will actually just kind of go over how to add in a new contributor just in case you have individuals who join at the end of the year. And so I will add Thomas and Mary. And we'll just leave their envelope number as 175. We will then just press save. And then there they are there. As part of the end of the year process, just before you begin renumbering, in the case you have members who leave the church or pass on, you will want to kind of do some cleanup. As you can see here, we have these two columns where it says skip renumber and no envelope. And then we're going to kind of go over what those do in just a second. So for people who have been removed, I will go over, so for example, Teresa here. She has been removed for inactivity in the system, and we don't want to give her an envelope number next year. So to do this, we're going to click on her record as I've just done, and then click on the edit button down here. Now, once underneath the edit, we have two options we can choose from. We have either skip this envelope or renumbering or does not use physical envelopes. Our recommendation for if people have left the church or have passed on, we recommend using the does not use physical envelopes, because as you may have just noticed, up in the upcoming envelope number, she now has a 6-digit figure instead of envelope 109. And this just allows you to retain their offering data in the system. And then now let me just press save. For skip this envelope, we normally only recommend using that for when you have like online givers, just because what it will do is if I check this, it will actually lock down the current envelope. And when I do my renumbering, it will go 108, then 110, and skip over 109 entirely. So for the renumbering process, we recommend just doing the does not use physical envelopes. And now let me close out of Teresa. And let me go down here. So in the cases of someone passing on, here is, let me just do Dean. Here is what you can do. So I will edit Arthur and Dean. Oh, sorry, Arthur and Virginia Dean. In this case, Arthur has passed on and we want to remove him as the main contributor. To do that, we will click the pencil icon right here. Just covered around it. Well, actually, sorry. What we'll want to do first before editing Dean is we will want to take Virginia off as the joint contributor. And once we do that, we will then want to press save here, because as you see up here, it still says Art and Virginia. Once I press save, it will now only say Art, and I can now click the pencil icon for contributor. And then we can say Dean, Virginia. And now she is just the sole contributor for this envelope. And once we press save, it'll then update it so it's just Virginia on here. So I'll close out of this, and we will actually now just go over how you can renumber in 9.1. So here we go. We're going to go to the envelope tools. We will then click renumber next to your envelopes. We will then press start. And so once here, you kind of have a few options. You can, if you want to, you can actually manually change these one by one by just clicking enter while you enter after you type in an envelope number. What you can also do too, which is probably the easier option, is just go to auto number down here at the bottom. And then we have three options for the auto number. So you can use the current year envelope numbers for upcoming envelope numbers, which just keeps the same numbers. you can assign upcoming numbers incrementally in current envelope number order. So that just, based on the envelope number order you have, it'll just sort them by that. Or you can say assign upcoming numbers incrementally in alphabetical order. And this is the one what we're going to choose to do for this one. And we will then just press continue. And we'll say, with the option here, it says, are you sure? And we'll just say yes. And once we do that, if you look over here on the left-hand side, you'll see these little check marks next to each individual that had their number changed. And you can see what their current envelope number is along with what their new upcoming envelope number is. So with this process, what you'll want to do is this is not permanent until you press save. And you can actually do this as many times as you want because all it will affect is the upcoming envelope number. So I'll press save and it's a success. So it's updated all those records. What you'll want to do is like once the end of the year has come around, sometimes churches, it's, January 1st when they want to renumber or actually start using their next year envelope numbers. Because once you run this utility right here, it will actually, change the upcoming number to, well, it'll change the current number to the upcoming number. And then with that utility though, there's really no way to undo that unless you have a backup from beforehand, and you'd have to restore that backup to get it back to the prior numbers. And so now we're going to kind of go over printing the reports. So the first report we're going to cover is the contribution statements. And with this, you can choose who you want to print out your statements for. You can do all envelopes, just anonymous, or other givers. You can then choose just active envelopes, inactive envelopes, current member envelopes, non-member envelopes, removed envelopes, and then you can also do for a subgroup, list, or grade, or for just a single contributor if you'd want. For this, we're just going to do all envelopes. And then from here, what we'll do is we will actually set the date range is actually already set, but I will change this to 12/31 just so we get the full year. And what I will also do and kind of recommend doing is if you're only wanting to get statements for those who gave, I would say go underneath the giving filter right here and say those who gave. And just as a note, if your church uses alternate addresses for individuals, they must be within their active date range to be printed with the contribution statements. And so for mailing and formatting, let me actually just do this. You can actually choose to include a barcode on there. And to do that, though, what you would need to do is you would need to contact your post office for bulk mailing information. And once you get that information, you can then go to Common Reports, Labels, and then there's this option right here to set up IMB. And this is kind of where you would then need that information from your post office, because this will actually set up the basic intelligence mail barcodes for individuals, just so you can, when you mail it out, they can just scan it and they'll know where it needs to go. So with the contribution statements, what you can also do is you can actually include a message on there. And if you want to add, so as you see here, there's this message option. I have got one in here already called thank you, but I'll just click on thank you, and what we can do is press this little edit icon. But if you're wanting to add a new message into your system, you will click this little plus sign right here. And this is just a very basic one I just created a little while ago, and just says thank you for your donations to the church. But this allows you to type up any message you would like here. And once you're done, we just press save. And once at this part, if we then click print, it'll print out our statements. And currently we've actually got one individual here, which is Scott and Ashley Huffman. But then we see here, there is that message we just did. It says, thank you for your donation to the church. As a note too, if you want to, and you have email set up, you can actually also email out your statements. For that to work though, One, you have to go into your contributors. Now, just look, I'll do Virginia here real quickly. And if I press edit, right here where it says statement method, you can only send out emails if their statement method is set to email. But if you do have that set up, um, you will have to use MS Outlook, but you can then click email. Actually, we do this. No, I'll uncheck that option. If you're doing email, you may want to do not print if prefers email. Now if we click, oh, that popped up there. I'm actually just going to do no filter for this one. If we do email, we then have Tim Benedict who popped up because he's the only one who prefers email. But then what you would do is you would type in an email message. So I'm just going to do an example here, test. And once I click out of here, then I have the option to send a message. And that was then sent out via email. So then just to kind of go over another report you'll want to run for the year end, we have the envelope box label report, which is actually just below the contribution statements. And you'll usually want to run this for the upcoming envelope number for next year. And I will uncheck actually the include skip and renumbering. As you see here, we've got a few options we can choose when printing these out, but you'll want to also choose the style of your labels. So we've got Avery 5161 or 5160, and we'll do just Avery 5160 3x10. And then if we click print here, what you can also include in here if you want to, you can actually include the mailing address, but then as you see here, I will actually zoom in because it's probably a bit small, but it will include the person's name, their envelope number, and then as I've included here, their mailing address. And you can use these just as, to put on their envelope boxes of, who has which envelope number. And then if you guys have any gift in kinds, those will actually also show up on the contribution statements. But for it to show up, you will want to check this gift in kinds option right here. And then we have then just to kind of show this one, here is how you can get the fund summary for a year. And to do that, what you'll want to do is go to summaries right here like I've done, and then choose by day fund. And then once in here, in the search bar, you'll want to type in your date range in this specific format. So it's going to be 1/1/2024. And then just as part of this, you'll want to hit Shift and then the backslash key on your keyboard. And the backslash key can be found between Enter and Backspace on your keyboard. And this will just kind of give this pipe, or as it's known, a vertical bar. And then what you'll just do is you'll then type in your second date. And then we press Enter. We'll then get just, actually, I'll just do this so we kind of get some more offerings in here. I'm going to do 2023. But then if we click print down here at the bottom, we can say by fund. And let me zoom into this one again. And then this one will show each fund for that year along with the grand total. And then we'll see how much came from pledges, how much was non-pledged, and then a median by day. And then we'll get a total down at the bottom to show how much was given for the entire year. And then let me go back to other reports. So what you can also do is you can actually do this giving by household giver fund. And this will also allow you to just say, hey, I want to see envelope number and fund. And just for the sake of this, I'm also going to go back to 2023 for a little bit. But then if we click print, this then shows for each individual how much they gave to each specific fund, along with a grand total of all their offering and the last contribution they had within the date range that we chose. As a note, you can also include any pledging within the date range. And let me just zoom back in here. So you can then see, hey, out of the, their total giving, here's how much they actually, of their given, here's how much they actually pledged. And then here's how far they're ahead or behind of their pledge. And just as the group by, I chose, envelope member fund, just because it allows you to see the individual. You can also do household. That though just shows, that one just shows you a grand total for them versus breaking it out like we saw with the envelope fund. Okay, now let's go back to tools/settings, because what we're going to go over now is the cleanup utility inside of contributions. And underneath here, you'll go to data tools, and there's this option here that says clean up your contributions data. There is no longer a year end in the contributions module. There hasn't been one for quite a while. With this cleanup utility though, this is just optional because it purges contributions data 10 years or older. So it just permanently deletes that data. And as I mentioned previously, the cleanup utilities are not necessary for your year-end process. They're just an optional utility you can run. And now let me just close out of contributions. We are now going to go over the attendance module. And same with contributions, you will want to post any unposted attendance badges you have. Otherwise, your reports for the year may not calculate properly. So real quickly, we're just going to post this attendance badge. And there we go. The attendance badge is posted. With the reports in attendance, various views inside of attendance can actually be printed or exported to be turned into their own reports. So you can kind of do that with any of the different sections here. Probably the one that's maybe most helpful for people is underneath events. And if we do by date, because as you can see here, this kind of gives us just a quick summary of what was all posted in a batch. So the non-visitors are the members of the church, and the visitors, of course, are just visitors. And so if you wanted to, you could say, hey, I want to see, just for the current year, like I did with the contribution batches, sorry, not contribution batches, the fund summaries. You can choose to just, if you type in the date range you're looking for, like I did previously, and then do shift backslash 12/31/2024, click enter. We can then just get a list of all of the, events that we had along with the dates they happened and who all attended on those events, or at least a total of those. Now underneath other reports here, we have the attendance comparison report. And this allows you just to look at prior years. And with this report, you can either choose to do it by type, or if you're looking for specific events. So just for this, I'm going to do contemporary worship. And if we then click print, I'll zoom in a bit more on this so you guys can see it a bit better. But this will just show us, for 2023 versus 2024, worship and communion, and will show us the numbers of times people worship and communed as the year went on. And as kind of I mentioned with the other ones, there is no longer a year end in the attendance module, so there's nothing you have to do to kind of move from one year to the other. And then as I mentioned, there's the cleanup utilities. These are optionals, and this just purges the attendance records 10 years ago or older from your system. But as I said, just an optional one you can do. So now let me do this, because we've pretty much covered all of the year-end processes for both contributions and attendance. I'm going to minimize this and bring back my PowerPoint, because now we're just going to have a quick little review over what we discussed. So you will perform the year-end in this order: contributions, attendance, membership, scheduler, and finance are independent and can be done at any time. Remember these basic steps: update and enter all data. This includes updating envelope numbers and posting batches. Run any needed reports. This includes contribution statements and attendance comparison. And then as a review, so you're going to want to make a backup. Making a new backup before completing each module's year-end task will give you a fallback point to go to if something is incorrect after running the year-end procedures. Complete year-end tasks for the module, then check your data afterwards to verify changes. Note, make another backup when year-end tasks are complete. And now we're just going to have a quick little quiz, and I will put the poll up so you guys can use that. So I'm going to turn the polls on. And I have just turned on the poll. So the first question is a true or false. The optimize this database utility should be run on all computers that have Shepherd staff. And let me just actually maximize this. Okay, I'll just give it a few more seconds here, because it looks like about 50% of you have voted. Okay, it looks like most of you guys have voted, so I am going to end this poll, but the answer for this is false. The optimized database utility will run its checks on the database for all users and all computers that are connected to the database. If one person runs the utility, the rest of the staff will not need to. So let me end that poll. And I will then pull up the next one. So this is a note: running this utility does not delete any data. So another true and false. All offerings and attendance badges should be posted prior to running your final year-end reports. Okay, looks like most of you guys have voted. I will end the poll. And the answer is true. Please post all of your contributions and attendance badges before generating any year-end reports. Otherwise, your year-end totals will be short and inaccurate. And then on to the next question. I will launch the poll again. Oh, I went too far. Pledges can be entered at any time, regardless of today's date or the pledge date. You guys already probably all saw the answer. So I will actually, it looks like most of you guys have already answered. I will end the poll. And as you all guessed correctly, it is true. Shepherd staff allows users to enter next year pledges now, and it allows a pledge to be added once a pledge drive has been started. Please remember to recalculate pledges if offerings were present prior to the creation of the pledge. And so the next one is also another true and false. I'll launch the um, poll, and it is you are required to run the cleanup utilities each year for every module. Okay, looks like most of you guys have voted. I am going to end the poll, and the answer is false. Running the cleanup utility is optional. This utility permanently deletes records from your database. This means you can no longer reference or report on that information. Please exercise caution when running the cleanup utility. Okay, and now do you guys have any questions on what we discussed today? I actually see one here from Judy. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your last name. Is it Hrinda? Uh, but I'll go over the answer to your question because she asked, we don't pledge can I hide pledge from the contributions report? Um, so if I'm going to go back here to contributions, and I don't know if you're talking about the contribution statements or the giving by household giver fund, but for both of those reports, I'll just go over both of them. If you don't do pledging, you would just, for example, with the giving by household giver fund, you would just not check the include pledging with data within the date range right here, and you would just run your report normally. For the contribution statements, what you'll want to do is if you don't want to see pledge information, you would just not check this option here. It says pledge summary. And that'd be how you would not include either of those. That's how you would not include the pledges on both those reports. Okay, any other questions? I'm just looking here to see if any new ones pop up. Okay, I am not seeing any new questions. So let me go back to our. Okay, and so I want to thank you all for attending today's Shepherd Staff webinar. We hope you enjoyed today's session. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to call. Um, there will be just a survey at the end of this that you guys can answer. And along with this, we send a recording of this along with posting it on YouTube. Well, I hope you all have a good rest of your day. I am going to stop the recording, and I hope you all have a good rest of your day now. Bye-bye.